friends, I'm so glad you're here today. Today I am making 4 bracelets that are going to be pretty classic and a really beautiful pair of earrings, and I'm going to be using my Potomac Beads Treasure Box Fireside Warmth for one of the bracelets. If you didn't see my unboxing, I had an issue with a missing item that was pretty vital in the box, and I decided to branch out and do something different with it, so I'll tell you what that is. And I'm also using some things that I have purchased this past year that I hadn't done anything with yet. A couple of things from DIDI Beads website, some things I picked up on a bead shopping trip. You guys might have seen my video over the summer with my friend Gail, and I really like to use what I buy, and I buy things that I love. You might notice my colors here of pinks and purples and pearls and gold, so I really wanted to just sit and put some things together, so maybe you'll glean a little tidbit of information or get some inspiration from what I'm doing, but nothing here today is rocket science. So to start off with, we received these Athena Cast Micro Spacer bead links in antique brass in the Potomac Beads Treasure Box for this month, and they were supposed to have a 3mm chaton that you could set in the middle of this little link. They were missing from my box, so I went into my stash and I pulled out some 3mm quartz micro faceted gems from a Potomac Beads Treasure Box months back. I don't even remember which one. It might have even been a year back, but I had some left over, and they're in these beautiful like pinks and purples. And so what I decided to do is to set those stones in every single one of those Athena Cast links instead of the chaton, and I quite love it because what I have ended up with, instead of a crystal beaded chain, I have a gemstone beaded chain, and I really love it. So the other thing you see here that I've turned into a link are these little pewter spacers. They're from my bead shopping trip with my friend. We went to the Jennifer Wiles studio in Bradenton, Florida, and that was one of my treasures from the shop. So I'm going to be using those, and I've just literally put a piece of 20 gauge wire through them to create a link, and this is my beaded chain. So let me show you how I did the link first, and this can be drying while we work on the other things. So I used my E6000 glue. I also like the Loctite Gel Super Glue Gel Control Loctite. I'm saying that all backwards, but I do like that one. I'm just out of it right now, and honestly, for such tiny, small, little things that you need to set, you have more time to adjust things with the E6000, and it really bonds perfectly. So it's a 3mm bead with a little 3mm hole, so you don't need much, and you don't want to have this oozing around your, whether you were using a bead or a chaton. I don't want to, cover my gemstone with glue. So I'm just going to take this, and you could even, like, if your fingers are in the way, you can even use your pliers like tweezers, and I'm just going to fill the little well with some E6000 glue. And it's really that simple. And like I say, you have time with this glue, quite a bit of time before it actually starts to set up. And then what I did, since this is a bead and I want it to look like a stone and not a bead, I picked up my gemstone beads with the holes on the side, and I'm just going to place it in there in the well, and I'm going to push it down as far as I can get it. And then I just want to check before I move away to make sure that the holes are down. Can you see? I see the hole. I know it's really tiny and it might be difficult for you to see, but I'm just going to turn it, maybe even with my finger, just turn it so that the hole is not on the top side, because that's going to make this not look like a bead, but look like a gemstone link. So that was my little solution, and customer service at Potomac Beads is always wonderful. They are amazing. One time a couple of years back, they sent me the wrong size pearl, and I really needed the size I had ordered, and they immediately sent out the right size and just let me keep the ones that were their mistakes. So they have great customer service, and if I had contacted them you know, they probably would have sent the chitons right away, but I kind of like the challenge. So that is all I did. I set those little gemstones in every single one of those. And I'm just going to place that here to dry. I have glue on my finger. The E6000 is just really a great glue for things like this, but I think I have a piece. I do always take the time to clean up, pull off strings, and it's a little bit of a rubbery glue, so even after it's fully set, you can oftentimes pull this off, but I try to work neatly. So while that's drying, I'll show you what else I did. I saved out 2 of those components so that I could make earrings, and these were some little beads that I found on my bead shopping trip. And I just love them. I only have 3 of them. So one of them is going to go in my bracelet design, and then 2 of them for earrings. And I used a decorative ball head pin, a check glass disc spacer, one of my components. The quartz beads were all different colors, so I sort of went through and chose 2 that were pretty close to the same color for the earrings, and I'll show you how easily I put this little earring together. I absolutely love it. I'll put some better pictures up at the end, but it looks like a little lantern. You know, it almost looks like there should be a light inside or a candle inside. I just really love these, and because of the component and because of needing small jump rings in order to make my gemstone component face forward, it almost has a chain like dangle, and I just love it. So what I did is took a decorative head pin. It's just got a pretty little flower on the bottom, and I took one check glass disc in a really pretty color that coordinates with my gemstone beads, and then I fed on my I'm going to call this a lantern bead. It is like a filigree, like cube bead. It's so beautiful. And they do have like a top and a bottom. There's a little, kind of a little hole. So I'm making sure that I'm stringing them the same way. And that is all I did. I used my really small 1-step looper, my 1.5 millimeter, to put the smallest loop in here that I could get. I'm butting it right up to the jaw of the tool. Let it make that little cut for me, and I'm just gonna bend it out of the way and just get like a really tiny loop in here. These head pins are a little bit thick, so I did have to come back and put a little loving care on that loop because I want it closed perfectly. And that is that. And then I took a really small jump ring that I made out of 20 gauge wire, and this is just to get the orientation of the little component correct. And this is small. The components are small. I mean, it's only a 3 millimeter little opening, but they're so powerful. It's so effective to add this in. So I'm just going to get in here as best I can and close that really small little jump ring. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the top loop of the component because I need it to be facing that way to go into my ear wire. I just got these really beautiful ear wires. They are gold-plated brass, and I just think they are so pretty. There's a little assortment with different shapes in the collection, and so let me make sure I'm putting this on in the right direction. So I'll link them below, but I just picked out like a pair that I thought was really pretty with my little lantern style earrings. I just love these. I'm going to just tidy everything up. And just that fast, those are done. Now, this is all just plated brass. These Athena cast components are high quality plating, and I love them, but I will brush my Permalac coating over this filigree bead, over my head pin, my loops there, even my ear wires. I will brush my anti-tarnish coating from Potomac Beads, one of my favorite products on the planet. It really makes my jewelry and my work last a long time. So the earrings are done, and all I have to do now is continue connecting. And it was a little bit hard to measure for my length on my beaded chain, so I've made a few extra components, but I am just going to connect until I have my length right. And really, the only trick to this beaded chain, different than a lot of them, is the components have an upside and a back side. So I do, I have had to go back not paying attention and realized I connected one of the components with the back side facing up. So that's really, in this design, that's really all to pay attention to. And I have something really cool that I also purchased this year, these brass hinged little clasps from Allegory Gallery. And so what I did on this end is I made a jump ring the same size, but it's out of 18 gauge wire, so it's nice and firm. And this little brass closure is going to attach to that, and it just matches the Athena cast brass plated findings so perfectly. And then my jump rings and my pewter spacers are a little bit brighter gold, and I just love the mix. So I'm going to connect that. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all done. This beautiful beaded chain is just something that I purchased with these beautiful natural coral little bits in there and freshwater pearls, and I just purchased it at a bead shop with the intention to just put a little clasp on it with a jump ring. And in fact, I think I'm even going to use a gold filled jump ring on this. Let me see, when they cut it from the spool, sometimes they leave a little bit of unusable chain, and that's what happened on this end. But this was just something I thought was so sweet from my travels, and I am just literally going to add a really strong, really small little magnetic clasp to the ends, and I'm just going to grab some gold filled jump rings. I have some small gold filled jump rings here. And I'm just going to attach a clasp, and that bracelet is done. And the one here, I think I'll do the same. Thing on the one that I ordered from DIDI Beads, but on that one I didn't measure properly, or either whoever cut the length didn't quite get it the bracelet length that I needed. So this is a beautiful, this is like one of my favorite colors in the world. Another little beaded chain. It's all hand wire wrapped. I just love it. I think it's the sweetest little chain, but this one is not quite long enough. So what I plan to do is, these beads also came from DIDI Beads, and I love these. For me, when I get a bead that's this beautiful, and in my universe, this is perfection. This pink color, the geometry of this, the shape, the profile of this bead is just absolutely breathtaking. When I saw these on the DIDI Beads website, I just had to have them. And I don't really need any more beads at all, and certainly not pink beads, but they make me so happy. It's just, and this is the kind of jewelry that even when it gets really hot in Florida, this is not heavy or uncomfortable to wear, like little bracelets like this. So, just look at that. These are just so gorgeous. So anyway, I digress. I'm here playing with my beads. So what I think I'm going to do is make a little component for the end of this bracelet and see if that doesn't give me the length that I need. So I'm just going to take, let's see, I have a little piece of my 20 gauge wire over here, and I'm just going to use my one-step looper again, the smallest one, just because everything that I'm working with is so petite. And I'm just going to make a little component out of that bead and see if I cannot get the length of that beaded chain just right for a bracelet. I even thought about making a cut But if I did that, I would lose one of the links, and I really don't want to lose one of the links. It's just so pretty. I mean, I know it's petite and small, but it's just so pretty. So these are all different, and I think I'm going to choose one that's very pink. Oh wow, that one. They're all beautiful. I just love these beads. So anyway, I'm just going to do a little beaded component, a little bead component. Really careful not to damage. So this is a good example where there's too much pressure on the bead. I don't have this closed all the way. My loop is not closed all the way either, but that's okay. I am going to stop closing the tool, remove it, and I'm going to finish closing this with my pliers so my bead is not damaged. But I need to open it again anyway to add it to the last little section on this chain. Just have to make sure it's closed really, really well because it's so fine. The wire wrapping on this is so fine, but those beads were such a perfect match. So now let's see. So now with my jump rings and my clasp, it's the perfect length, and it has like a little sweet surprise. And I am going to use these gold filled jump rings to put my clasp on. I mean, these, like I said when I started the video, this is like super simple jewelry making, like beyond simple. And, you know, but sometimes isn't it fun to just make something sweet and lovely, and we have the knowledge and the tools to do it, and it doesn't always have to be an engineering feat. You know, everything we make doesn't always have to be the most innovative out of the universe design. And today was just one of those days where I just said, I have these little projects I want to put together, and so, you know, this is it. I hope it's not a boring video. Got it. I love this little magnetic clasp, but it's one of those super strong ones, and it's a pain until I get the pliers out of the way. It's grabbing the pliers, but I want those jump rings to be closed really well. I mean, I think that is so sweet, and these petite bracelets are so fun to just pop on with your watch, layer them with other bracelets. They're just like super easy and like fun to make, and I just like, that is just thrilling. So I'm going to do the same exact thing to this one, except this one only needs the jump ring and the magnetic clasp. Okay, just like that. Second little petite bracelet. Oh, that's so lovely. It's so lovely. And these little small bracelets are also really nice if you like to wear a bracelet on your watch side. You just have to be careful because sometimes if you're doing a magnetic clasp, it can mess up a timepiece. So you just have to be careful with that. But look how sweet these are. I just love them. I love my earrings. So on the last bracelet, I'm going to be repeating basically the same thing that I did. I'm going to turn this brass bead into a component, and I'm going to turn all of these into components, and they are going to be a beaded chain. So I'm going to repeat the same thing that I've been doing. I'm going to finish connecting this other little bracelet. Let's see where I am. That's my, let me put this this clasp on my thicker jump ring end so I know that I'm working from this end, and I am just going to continue connecting, making links and connecting until these last two bracelets are done. So all of my little beaded components are done, and they are ready to be connected. And as I was sitting here making all of these components, I realized that I was going to have 2 beads left over. I got my bracelet length and I've designed a little pair of earrings and I'm so excited about them. It was like a 3-minute little wire working, and I have coated everything with my Permalac coating. So like these little filigree lantern looking beads. I'm sorry, this is the bracelet that I made when I first opened the Potomac treasure box this month, and I love it, but my little chain, my adjustable chain, is making a lot of noise on my table. I'm sorry for the distraction. And when I took my links out of the one-step looper, I did not tidy them up and work hard in them because I used my medium size, my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper for this bracelet because the scale of it is a little bit bigger. And I knew that when I started connecting that I would put my plier to every single loop and with a little bit of force just work harden after it's closed. So you'll kind of see me doing that. So I'm just going to connect these and then I'll show you guys a little trick, if it's even a trick, the way that I got my Permalac coating on my small beaded chain. I'll show you what I did because I only did half of it and I let it dry a little bit. The Permalac dries in just a very few minutes. So it's a really great product. So I did have to change my design a little bit just because since I borrowed a couple of my beads to make earrings, I was a little bit short. But just like with this piece, sometimes when you have to troubleshoot, you come up with something even better than what you thought. So I'll show you what I did. I have a little assortment of gold-filled diamond cut jump rings. I've reordered these so many times. There are 3 different sizes in the assortment, and to make this beaded chain have a little bit of unexpected interest, at odd intervals I added in one of those jump rings, but not just one, a double. So it just makes it just adds to the chain-like feeling of my handmade beaded chain. And I did do one on each side of my little lantern bead because it really like showcases that little focal section. And I put my clasp on, and then I have the medium size in the assortment. And like I said, I'm using things that I've purchased this year that I just loved, and this was one of them. This little bell, I bought a whole little set of these, and I was thinking I would do earrings or something for them with them, but I ended up not having time to use them. And so I'm thinking, what a perfect little charm that will make on this bracelet. So I'm going to come to this end of my clasp and open another one of the diamond cut jump rings. These are such high quality. I often have trouble finding the opening. When you close them really well, it looks like a solid ring. And I'm going to put my little bell on, and then instead of looping it through one of my simple loops or my clasp loop, I'm going to come around the whole circumference. If you've been on my channel before, I'm sure you have seen this little trick that I do. You can definitely put your charms through a loop so that they are stationary, but I have found that doing it this way, where my jump ring is around the circumference, makes it so that no matter which way I pick up my bracelets to wear them, and no matter which direction it falls on my arm, let me just pull this and I'll show you. The charm moves 360 degrees around your piece, and especially when it's a little bell. And this is a pretty quiet bell, but it does have the little noise. It's very, very slight. So I just love that. I think it's a sweet little addition to this bracelet, and the magnetic clasp makes it super easy to put on and off, and then my little bell will fall no matter, you know, which way my bracelet lands. So I just absolutely love this. Like I said, this is kind of like, these are a few of my favorite things. I'm sitting here singing the song in my head and I just love it. So I'll show you what I did on this piece because the chain is quite small and my pewter elements were quite small. Let me get my little plastic dish so I don't make a mess on my mat. And so what I did is just used my pliers like that. I'm right-handed, so let me get this open before I set myself up to coat this. And I've literally coated everything. I will do my bell. I will even do my clasps. They are gold. These are wonderful little magnetic. They look like a little coin bead or a little button, and they're gold plated, but I will coat those as well. But I just use my pliers and get set up so that I'm not struggling to coat things. And I made my jump rings out of my soft flex wire that has an anti-tarnish coating, so I don't have to worry about coating those. And with the Permalac, you can really just, almost carelessly brush it over things, because if you accidentally brush a gemstone bead, it doesn't show. It dries clear in the semi-gloss. It's available in matte as well. And the matte, it has a wonderful texture to it. You just have to be careful not brushing it over things that you want to sparkle, like any crystals or anything like that. But I just did all the components in this that are pewter or that are plated. The Potomac beads links are beautiful. The Athena cast line, very, very high quality plating on them. But I still brush the Permalac over even that, because it just makes it last longer. And like I said, don't have to do my jump rings. And that's what I did. And I just switched ends when I ran out of length. That's a little trick for getting everything coated. And then I'll just hang this somewhere to dry. It dries really fast. By the time I'm done talking, it will be dry. And I need to do my little bell. You can also just lay it down in a dish. So let me show you this fast, fun little pair of earrings. I didn't quite finish the first one. That's what it's going to look like. It is super simple. I wanted to really showcase these beads that I love so much. So instead of doing a head pin or anything that would hide the shape and the color of the bead, I used my wire and ran it up the back so it doesn't show, and then did a little stack of beads. This part, the ear wire, is not finished yet because I like to cut them and finish them at the same time so that both of my earrings are the same. But it's an all-in-one where my anti-tarnish coated wire, it's 20 gauge wire, is my bead stem, it's my earring, the body of my earring, it's my wrapping, and then it all in one becomes the ear wire. It's another one of my specialty things that I do. I tell the story when I was very young, a little girl, 9. I had a beloved aunt who got me one of my first pairs of fine jewelry, and the jeweler had taken a 14 karat gold ball head pin and a freshwater pearl and made the drop and then turned the head pin into an ear wire. And I loved those earrings. I wore them and wore them. And when my house was burglarized, they were gone. I lost them. So I started making them. And so it's kind of my specialty. If you go on my playlist on my channel for earrings, you'll see that I do that design quite a bit. So I am going to feed on my bead and decide, each one of these beads was different. So I want to decide which side of it I like the best. And because it is important when you make this type of an earring to keep the front of your earring in front of you so that you wrap it properly. And choose the side I like. I think that side is really pretty. So I'm just going to come down to this piece of wire, and I'm just leaving myself enough of a tail down here to cover the bead and to be able to wrap a couple of times. And these beads are nice and chunky. It's pretty easy to hold on to them, but I just go slowly. And I always say, don't skip the step of warming and straightening your wire, because it will perform a lot better for you. And so I'm just slowly, carefully just wrapping this wire up the back of the bead. So it's just like that. It's 20 gauge wire, so do what I can with my hands, and then I'll come in with my pliers. But I just want to encase the bead and keep it facing forward. Okay, I'm at the point where I need pliers in here. Just get my wrap started. And since it's an earring, I want to match it. Where's my other one? Here it is. So I just did 2 wraps around the top of the bead. So that's my front. Get this straight and warmed. Nylon jaw pliers. I don't normally make New Year's resolutions because my healthy habits and the things that I do, I just feel like they need to be ongoing. But if I were going to do a New Year's resolution, it would be to unscrew this and put a fresh nylon jaw on my pliers. I use them so much and I never take the time to change that. So I'm just going to wrap this around a second time and make it look as much like the other one as I can. Bring that around to the back and trim and tuck like we do on everything. And I also, on the back of this one, I made a little lightning bolt just to tighten it. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Just grab that wire right in the middle and just give it a twist. It just puts like a little lightning bolt, but now the bead is really secure. So just warm and straighten. And I did a really pretty little stack. I used those check glass disc spacers, and I have these are from DIDI beads, these teeny tiny little hematite spacers. I'll put links in the description box to the Potomac Beads treasure box and DIDI beads, and I always link all my favorite tools and anything that I've used or that I've found that I know where I got it and that I can link for you. You'll find it in the description box. So there's my second earring, and I like these bail making pliers for it, but you could really use any bail making plier. The smaller mandrel on this plier really works for me. Clean up here a little bit. So again, like I said, it's really important that you keep track of what your front of your earring is on this design. And I'm going to grab my stack of beads right at the top where my wire is leaving the bead, and this is my front, and I'm going to just a little tiny bit above the bead because I don't want to put any stress here. I'm going to bend this toward me at about a 45-degree angle, and what that bend does is keeps your beads on the wire. Then I'm going to come in with my bail making plier, and again making sure that the front of the earring is facing front. I can already see my wires going off to the side, but you can make some cleanup after you do this. And I want to wrap over the smaller barrel, so I'm just going to line everything up. That's my front of my earring, and just wrap this over the back barrel. And so I can see, make a little adjustment. That looks pretty good. A lot of times when I'm not filming, if I'm doing this, I will put both earrings over the barrel at the same time, doing them together so that they're exactly the same. And so what I'm going to do is come right here and trim. I like to trim them together if it's possible, if the beads are not too much in the way, just to make sure that both earrings, it's an all-in-one earring, so it is kind of important that they be the same length. Just have to like get around the beads. So I'm going to come right there and right there. And now I come in with my flat nose plier. Oh, that's still a little bit long. I'm gonna have to trim. Do one more trim, straighten everything out. You can make adjustments now to your loop if you need to do any more bending or put it back on the bail making plier. I'm going to make this a little bit shorter, just another tiny bit. Sometimes I even use what I've cut off of the other earring like that. It's really small, but I'll do it like that so that instead of guessing or eyeballing it, I am cutting at the same spot. That's pretty good. There, perfect. Okay, now I'll come back with my flat nose plier and just line it up so that the end of the wire is at the end, and just kick that out. And so I have a really sweet little all-in-one earring. Same thing on this one. And then I always link, I have this little hand set of files and reamers. It's like I forget, a 6, 8, I can't even remember how many pieces, but you can do that. You can also use like a buffing block that you would take paint off of metal. You just don't want where you've cut your wire to be sharp. But my favorite way to do it is this little rounder that's in a battery operated bead reaming tool. This attachment is in there right now, but it also comes with, or you order it separately, the long reamer that you need to, if you need to clear the hole of a bead or make it larger. But I pretty much always leave this little wire rounder, the little cup attachment, and I just like doing my ear wires this way. And you know, I just make sure there's nothing sharp. It's a very professional way to finish earrings, and it looks great, and they are nice and smooth. I don't know why this one's not getting smooth. Perfect, that's better. Okay, so this little making session, I hope it wasn't a boring video for you guys, because there was nothing rocket science here, but sometimes it is just so lovely to just make things, just classic things. And these are like bracelets and earrings that I just love. These are things that I will wear regularly, reach for them all the time. I love every single piece. As I said, I really like to use the things that I have purchased on my trips. And I love these. This is my style. It's so beautiful. So I thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to check my description box for links to my sources if you see anything that you liked and would like to add to your own supplies. And I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, friends.